I call to order this Knox County Commission meeting for Monday, April 24th, 2023. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Lundy.
Here.
Commissioner Durrett.
Here.
Commissioner Oster. Commissioner Ward. Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Here.
Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Lee. Commissioner Beeler.
Here.
Commissioner Daly.
Here.
Commissioner Jay. Commissioner Frazier.
Present.
10 members present.
We do have a quorum. At this time, I will recognize Commissioner Daly for tonight's devotional.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Drew, for putting this up. About a couple of months ago, my pastor preached this sermon, and Buddy did it every hit home. And I wanted it to be on the screen so you can read along with me. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. If these verses don't fit today's world that we're living in, our country, our nation, our state, our county, and our community, I don't know what does. This is about a 3-month-old sermon that still, I think about it all the time. And I don't know what the answer is for this country, but it's not hate. I can tell you that. I know it's not hate. So if you would, bow your head for a moment of silence, please. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Daly. This time, I will recognize Commissioner Schoonmaker to lead us in tonight's pledge.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Would everyone please stand, face our nation's flag, and offer the proper salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now on to amendments to the agenda. Additions are as follows. Items 27, 28, 43, and we'll be adding a presentation by our trustee regarding property tax freeze for Knox County seniors. There's one deferral, item number 61. Yes. Withdrawals include items 42, 48, and 49. Non-consent items 29, 31 through 35, 39 through 41, and 43 through 47. I'll repeat, those non-consent items are 29, 31 through 35, 39 through 41, and 43 through 47. Any more discussion regarding our agenda for the evening? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Motion to set the agenda as amended.
Motion to set the agenda as amended by Commissioner Beeler with a second by Commissioner Oster. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Our agenda is set. Madam Clerk. Oh, that's right. Next on our agenda is our education consent and general government consent calendars. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hill with a second by Commissioner Frazier to approve both consent calendars. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, Madam Clerk. Where are we?
Page 6, item number 29, Resolution 101 is a resolution honoring Joe and Dale Longmire upon their retirement as owners of the Midway IGA grocery store in the Corrington community.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Beeler with a second by Commissioner Jay to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Commissioner Beeler, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, you know, for the last 75 years, in the daily commerce of the Gibbs and Corrington communities, and that is plural, by the way, it is 2 communities, not 1, that's right. There have been 2 great constants, groceries and the Longmires. And we don't have any groceries up here that I know of, but we do have the Longmires. I grew up in Corrington, going to the grocery store with my grandmother at Joe and Dale Longmire's truly mom and pop grocery store, because it was their mom and pop that ran the grocery store. And it was a fun place for a 4-year-old, let me tell you. The floors were concrete, and there were actually ramps in the aisles. Am I right about that, guys? There were ramps in the aisles, and if you got up just the right speed in that buggy, you could have a ton of fun on those ramps, as long as your grandmother didn't see you. So we're here to honor Joe and Dale Longmire, and I believe Becky and Ellen are here. Wave at us. Okay. On their retirement. The Longmires are leaving the grocery business to pursue other endeavors. They have left the IGA at Harbison's in good hands, and Commissioner Frazier and Commissioner Jay and I have co-sponsored an honorary resolution, and I'm very proud to be up here to honor them with my colleagues. So Commissioner Frazier, if you would please do the honors.
It's such a joy to read this into record and to celebrate the Longmires. Whereas the Longmire family has been deeply rooted in the Corrington and Gibbs community for generations and giving back to the community that they deeply love in meaningful and impactful ways. And whereas in May of 1947, Claude and Ruby Longmire opened Longmire Grocery in Corrington, providing everything from produce and poultry, notions and shoes, to coal and toys to the people of East Knox County. Whereas, born into the grocery business, brothers Dale and Joe Longmire learned the value and the importance of hard work and living in community by working alongside their parents, stocking shelves, delivering groceries, checking out customers, and often lending a helping hand to those in need. Whereas Joe and Dale Longmire attended Corrington Elementary School and Gibbs High School. Joe studied accounting at the University of Tennessee, and Dale attended Lincoln Memorial University to train to become a teacher. And whereas Dale and Joe expanded the family business with the construction of House Mountain Market in 1977. And whereas in 1988, they bought Midway IGA, a grocery store founded by Burl Kirkpatrick and Bill Butler. In 1996, the Longmire brothers and their wives, Rebecca and Ellen, committed everything they owned and purchased an entire shopping center, completed the mall, and had 28,000 square feet for Midway IGA. And whereas Midway IGA is located in the shopping plaza now known as Gibbs Center, and it is recognized as a pillar of the Tri-County area. And whereas the Midway IGA has become a staple in the community where one can find local brands like Cruise Farm Milk, Benton's Bacon, homemade fudge, farm fresh cheeses, and honey from Newport. Midway IGA has even reached celebrity status by being featured in a country music star's music video. And whereas for 45 years, the Longmire family IGA has been a stalwart steward of the Corrington and Gibbs community, maintaining a strong focus on the history and vitality of the area through fundraising for the restoration of the Corrington Train Depot, the Corrington Library, and Nicholas Gibbs Historical Society. And whereas, as consistent supporters of their community, the Longmire brothers have given countless donations over the years, such as creative prizes like toilet paper for the Wesley House for Granny's Bingo Nights, serving those on a limited income, meals at cost to the Ruritan Club, churches, and senior center in the area, day-old bread to the children's home, cash register receipts for students' computers, paper goods to the Shriners, and stocking local food pantries. And whereas Dale and Joe Longmire have opened their hearts and doors as a location for numerous nonprofit and area school organizations like the Boy Scouts popcorn sales, cheer team car washes, athletic team events, teacher support events, and employing students. And whereas, although Joe and Dale Longmire are retiring, Midway IGA will continue to be in good hands under the new ownership of Haven Gopal, an investor and native Tennessean. Whereas Joe and Dale Longmire plan to enjoy a restful retirement, and they will continue to be active in their faith at Rutherford Methodist Church. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Commission of Knox County as follows. The Knox County Commission hereby honors Dale and Joe Longmire upon their retirement as owners of the Midway IGA grocery store, extending to them the Commission's heartfelt thanks for their decades of service and contributions to our community. Be it further resolved that this resolution be presented to Dale and Joe Longmire, and in doing so, wish them a happy, healthy, and relaxing retirement. Be it further resolved that this resolution is to take effect from and after its passage as provided by the Charter of Knox County, Tennessee, the public welfare requiring it. Congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioners, for your support. The Longmire family is more than just a grocer. As you have heard, they are neighbors, they are friends, they are part of the glue of the community of the Gibbs and Corrigan part of our county, and I am glad that you are celebrating them as we will. I want to introduce you to the Longmire brothers to say a few words.
I'd like to thank all the commissioners for this honor. I have to say we've enjoyed every minute that we have been in business. Being brothers, we've never had a fight the whole time, so that says a little. But I really do appreciate this, and thank you very much.
I'd also like to thank the commissioners for this great honor. And we couldn't do it without our loyal employees and our loyal customers. We really appreciate them for all these years. And our sister's been with us all these years also. And we couldn't have done all this without them. So thank you very much.
If Commission would come down, we want to take a quick picture, please.
Everybody smile. And one more. Good. Thank you.
Commissioner Oster, your light is on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to do a point of personal privilege and introduce Tyler King is a neighboring county commissioner of ours, and he's here tonight to watch our commission meeting, so I just wanted to welcome him, and he's over there waving. Did I say Campbell County? I'm sorry, Campbell County.
Welcome, Commissioner King. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
It's on page 6, item number 30, presentation to bring awareness to Autism Awareness Month by Allie Haney.
If you would, please state your name and county of residence, and the floor is yours.
My name is Allie Haney. I live in the Inskip, Norwood area. I was diagnosed with autism in July of 2001 after the wedding of my aunt and uncle. Things to know about autism: their struggles in communication without assistive technology like PECs. The Services for Autism is ABA, one of the only behavior therapies for autism, also RDI, and there's also social skills group, other special education programs and treatments for autism. Also, Fort Sanders Educational Development Center is the only public preschool for kids with autism that I went to for preschool. My comfort animals like Sylvester, my kitty cat, for example, who is deeply attached with me. Their special interests like working with computers and working with Windows 8 computers, art, etc. The safety issues is colleges sometimes have a struggle with accepting people with autism to have agreed that they deserve. The cat bus route to Inskip Road has lacks of sidewalks on Inskip Road, and it is an issue to those with special needs, even with autism. I'm learning how to ride a bus myself to get a job in the Fort Sanders area, so hopefully I could help children with small kids and special needs. How could I help Knox County accommodate autism, have a fire department teach fire safety to those even with autism, a homeschool program for kids with autism K to 12 to keep students with autism away from bullying, which is the #1 problem in autism. Have colleges be educated about autism and sensory problems so they would get a degree that they deserve. And furthermost, have a children's lab corp for kids with autism next to Children's Hospital. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss Haney, would you, Miss Haney? She's not listening. Let me see if she, would you like to have a photo taken with the commission? Because that was an excellent presentation. Thank you so much.
One more.
Yes, the school's gonna know about what I spoke.
Next item, Madam Clerk.
This item was added to the agenda. It's a presentation from the Knox County trustee regarding property tax freeze for Knox County seniors.
Good afternoon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it. Justin Biggs, 400 West Main Street, Suite 427. Thank you guys for allowing me to come here and speak tonight. I really appreciate it, and it's an urgent issue, and that's why I wanted to come and talk to you. I wanted to take a moment to inform everyone of the legislative items which can impact us here in Knox County. This will specifically impact our seniors, those with lower income over the age of 65 that fall within specific qualifications. In 2007, the General Assembly enacted the Property Tax Freeze Act. Knox County has been a part of that act since 2007. Since then, the income limit has been $42,440 with around 4,700 people on the program. The reason I'm here today is to let you know Mayor Jacobs and I will be bringing a resolution to you next month for an increase in which the state has passed to $60,000. This will impact those who have fallen off the program and will also assist in obtaining new seniors for the program. I have supplied a small packet of data which will show you inflation rates, buying power, and other statistics from 2000 until current. I was just here out of courtesy to let you know that we're going to be bringing this to you. So if anybody would like to contact me for anything, I have the data if anybody wants it. And I want to thank Commissioner Schoonmaker for letting me come up here and speak today as well. So thank you all. Thank you.
Commissioners, any discussion or questions for Trustee Biggs? Commissioner Oster?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Trustee. I really appreciate you doing this, and this actually kind of makes me tear up a little bit because I had a constituent call me a few months ago, and she just barely, it was over, I think it was $560, that she thought that she wasn't going to qualify for. And so I was able to talk to somebody who's very knowledgeable in the senior section in your office. He directed me how to move her along, and she's going to be able to now take care of that. And she was really struggling with food and medicine, and so it just kind of tears me up. So I'm very grateful that you guys are doing this. I appreciate you and the mayor for doing that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. For everybody here, the seniors in your districts, a lot of times these programs, you may not see it, but the tax freeze capping and making it to where it can increase, that's the difference in a lot of these seniors being able to buy groceries or medications or maybe Christmas presents or other things. And we've been working with our delegation on making sure that this passes, and I really want to mention them. They've all worked very hard on this too. So it actually passed 89-1, so I'm pretty proud of that as well. So anybody have any further questions? Thank you guys. I'll see you next month. Appreciate your time. Sorry, haven't done this in a while.
Thank you, Trustee Biggs. All right, this brings us to public forum. Under our rules, those who have signed up to speak on a particular agenda item may speak at this time. We have 15 people who have signed up to speak. First on the list is Patty King, followed by Richard Hoffman Warner, and then Justin Hurst. Ms. King, if you would please approach the podium, state your name and county of residence, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the commission.
Patty King, Knox County. I'm here today about the resolution for support of Governor Lee's red flag law. I oppose this law. The reason being is these students behind us talked about the Parkland shooting. I had a classmate and a friend of mine who was a teacher during the Parkland shooting. She lost 5 students. I messaged her the other day and asked her what she thought about it. She said, the red flag law does nothing because these people can get the guns they want off the street. This is not a way to protect our kids. The other resolution where we are upgrading our security, that's the resolution that I support because we do need to upgrade security in schools. Public, private, all, even the homeschool co-op groups that are in churches and stuff. There needs to be ways, and one way is to prosecute these people. We don't prosecute enough, and when we prosecute, they get the lesser of the sentences. The Parkland shooter got life in prison, okay? There's something wrong with that, and the families are fighting that right now. I'm fighting that. I'm from that area. I went to school close to that school. I have students, friends, and family members that are down there that are still fighting for the protection that they need. A red flag is not the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Richard Hoffman Warner. Please state your name and county of residence, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Richard Hoffman Warner, and I'm a resident of Knox County. I'm here also to speak about the red flag laws being pushed by the governor of Tennessee. 2 things to note on the Parkland shooting. Nicholas Cruz, the shooter, was arrested 19 times before he actually committed the shooting, and he was not ever held accountable. Some of the provisions of the Tennessee law, which I have proposed Tennessee law, which I particularly have issue with, is that the low burden of proof. Section 3, the provisions of which this act can be put in place is it places another in reasonable fear of violent behavior and serious physical harm. There's a very low burden of proof for that. I will also point out that this law does not give a time frame of when this happens. Can it be any comment made when the law was enacted, before or after? Some of the issues I have with this is I can assume everyone on the Knox County Commission has had something on Facebook which could be conceived as placing another person in a reasonable fear of violent behavior and serious physical harm, whether it be a joke or a sarcastic comment. I would ask all of you, could you be held to the same standard? Could someone put one of these orders against you or one of your loved ones because of something you said previous to this law if it was passed? In many other states, these laws have been used with Facebook comments, particularly in Maryland. A man was shot after a no-knock raid executed at 3 in the morning because someone didn't like what he said on Facebook. Once again, where's the liability on that? It would be to the sheriff's deputies that have to execute these no-knock warrants. I will also point out, similar to civil asset seizures, the person who's accused of this has to pay for their own defense, right? The county can, of course, do it, but I could foresee that that would be a large burden, especially if many people would use this to their own designs. I will finally end up by pointing out that, as Ms. King said, most of the guns used can be purchased either legally or illegally. The shooter in Nashville purchased all of her firearms, at least as much as we know. We would like to know her motives. However, her manifesto, several pages long, is still being held by the FBI for some type of review. You could imagine her being someone of a domestic terrorist and anti-Christian in nature, that she attacked her own school for some ideological reason. So I would ask you all to reconsider any support for any of these red flag laws. They do not work in California. They have not worked in Illinois or New York. These are terms for which people can be attacked politically for something they said. And remember, there's nothing in this provision that says someone can't go 20 years back in any of your history or anyone else's and find some comments you made either in jest or in seriousness that can be used to this law against you or your spouse since you're in the same home. I would seriously ask for Knox County Commission to reconsider any support for this law. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Justin Hurst, followed by Kristen Barnes and Debbie Stafford.
Justin Hurst, Knox County. I guess I'd like to address the Nashville shooting in particular. There was no point during that a red flag law would have prevented it. There was nobody saying, hey, this person is unstable and going to go shooting someone. So I would like to address red flag laws and the notion of taking someone's weapons because of a perceived need for mental health treatment. I think that it's going to have an unintended consequence in that people that may need mental health services will not seek them out, and then you will have a person who needs mental health services, isn't getting it, and is still armed. So that is an unintended consequence that I think is very significant. Also, I'd like to say that this shooter in Nashville, I believe, is one of many people in the trans community who perceive that they are being persecuted. I think it's an unwarranted perception. I think that they're hearing this from all around. I don't know who's actually ultimately to account for that, but They seem to be saying that there's a transgenocide, that they're being persecuted. When we talk about things like what people refer to informally as the anti-drag show bill, I think that we need to be more precise about that. People sometimes call that the anti-trans bill. It is not. It is a bill that was designed to protect children from lewd shows of any kind, whether it's a man dressed as a woman dressed as a man, someone not dressed at all. Children are not supposed to be there, and that was the intent of that law. There's another law that intends to prevent a childhood whim from resulting in surgeries and treatments that have lifelong consequences. So I want to encourage people to talk about these things precisely when they talk about bills, because there are forces out there that are saying things that are not quite accurate, that are getting people really riled up. You see a lot of anger on the trans side, and it ends up with things like the Nashville shooting. I don't think that the shooting would have happened if there wasn't a perceived threat by the Christian right. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Those who are still going to speak, please make sure you are speaking very close to the microphone. They do not work if you're even a couple inches away from it. Next on our list is Kristen Barnes. Kristen Barnes, are you here? Okay, next is Debbie Stafford, followed by Caroline Schoonover and Dane Shelton.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you all for having me. Don't worry, everyone will be able to hear me. First, I want to commend the junior commissioners for taking an active role in our community.
Ms. Stafford,
yes.
please state your name and county
Oh,
of
I'm sorry.
residence.
Debbie Stafford, Knox County. But I do want to commend the junior commissioners for trying to take an active role in our community. We need far more young people to take an active interest in our society, and I just personally want to say that each of you matter very much. I would like to encourage each of you to think about something called root cause analysis in decision making. Root cause analysis attempts to get to the very core of a given problem so that solutions can be found. Root cause analysis is used across various industries, healthcare, engineering, on and on. There are several types of root cause analysis. One of my personal favorite are the 5 whys, because I love to ask why. You take a given problem and then you ask why 5 times and hope to getting to the core. In this specific situation, for which I had a family member that attended Covenant, why did a female shoot little Christian children and teachers? None of us really knows that answer, though, as someone mentioned, there is a manifest that was never released. From there, we can ask why at least 4 more times, probably lots more. But that's where we all need to be working, is why. Why are these things happening? As you all have let us know before, you all have no control over state law. For example, none of you have any control over State Law 33-6-401, which the easiest way to explain it is Tennessee's version of the Baker Act. This is the state law for legally detaining anyone who has a serious emotional disturbance and is posing a significant risk of harm to self or others. You see, someone who's at a significant risk of harming self or others doesn't stop by being a risk if a gun is removed. There are still vehicles, knives, baseball bats, fists, matches. You get the picture. It's still the heart, the spirit, the core of the person that's the problem, not the mode for which they choose to harm others. So to you, the County Commission, I support your influence as a group to send messages to our state government. But I do ask that you vote against a resolution infringing on our legal citizens and instead focus on the core of the problem. The core of the problem is the evil in the heart of people. And when we finally start addressing that, we're going to address the core of the problem and hopefully begin to turn things around. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Next is Caroline Schoonover.
Caroline Schoonover, Knox County. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'm a junior at West High School, a junior commissioner program graduate, and I'm here speaking in support of agenda item number 45. The claim that the states with the toughest gun laws have the worst violence is simply untrue. Multiple studies and sources have found that states with less restrictive gun laws and higher rates of gun ownership, which have both higher rates of total firearm deaths, which includes accidents and suicides, and higher rates of gun homicide deaths specifically. As for this resolution, party line sponsorship was in no way intentional. The other junior commissioners and I simply worked with our personal district representatives. We want this resolution to be a nonpartisan approach. In fact, Tennessee wants this resolution to be a nonpartisan approach. There is broad support across the state of Tennessee and across the aisle, including the majority of Tennessee Republicans who polled as supporting extreme risk laws, 71%, closing background check loopholes, 73%, and for safe storage laws, 68%. This resolution is in no way, shape, or form extreme. We are simply trying to protect ourselves with common sense solutions. I urge you, commissioners, please vote in support of Resolution 234907.
Thank you. Next on the list is Dane Shelton, followed by Andy Fox and Jeff Irwin. Please state your name and county of residence, and you have 3 minutes.
I'm Dane Shelton. I live in Knox County, District 3. I think my former junior commissioners can agree with me that oftentimes we're spoken down to simply because we're in high school or because we're children. Though technically we may be children, under the law, we may still be in adolescence, we may still be immature at heart. I can assure you we are not children. Don't get me wrong, I wish we were. I wish we were all worried about grades and friends and relationships and parents and teachers, but instead we've had our childhood stripped from us because we have had to fear for our lives due to gun violence. Instead of worrying about what we'll be when we grow up, we've had to worry about whether or not we'll grow up at all. The biggest problem is not the lack of childhood itself. In fact, I think it's the illusion of childhood that people project onto us. Regardless of how broken down by the horrors of being brutalized in school we may be, regardless of how serious we are about change, regardless of how much research we've done to make sure we fully understand exactly what we're asking of each other, we're still seen as children that don't know what they're talking about. We've been given every excuse in the book. We've been spoken down to. We've been wrongly corrected as if we didn't properly research what we were talking about. We've been treated like children while holding the responsibilities of an adult. If we were so childish, maybe we should just sit back, relax, learn, and live without fear. But instead, we're not granted that luxury. Instead, we have to come before you, absolutely mortified that we even have to think about our peers being murdered in school while you bicker and argue over whether or not to take a stance. You're just taking a stance. That's all we're asking. That's all I'm asking. I'm asking for Knox County, my home and my birthplace, to stand up and say, we hear you, to the people that are terrified of losing a child to gun violence. But no, that would be impossible. There's got to be a better solution than that. Maybe we should have a better relationship with our SROs, just like how the kids at the Parkland shooting should have had a better relationship with their SRO that hid from the shooter as he attacked and murdered 17 people. Maybe we should come to terms with the fact that gun laws don't do anything because felons always get guns, which I imagine is only why 13% of the people that commit mass shootings have purchased their guns illegally. Or perhaps we should simply wait and take charge and fight for change because we're too afraid of backlash from political parties that have sworn to defend us and make life easier, yet have done anything but. Instead of all that, why don't we just take a stand? Why don't we all stand up, regardless of background or beliefs, fight against gun violence in any way possible, instead of laying down and saying, we're not going to fix it, as our United States representative in Congress said a few weeks ago. Why don't we try to be better? You say you're proud of us. Why don't you let us be proud of you? Why don't you let us be proud of you for taking a stand? Why don't you let me say, I'm so proud that the people that represent me heard my calls and decided to act instead of twiddling their thumbs and waiting. I want to be proud of you. I want to be proud of Knox County. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Andy Fox. Please state your name and county of residence, and you have 3 minutes.
Andy Fox, Knox County. As an attorney, I'm actually not here really to talk to you about the Second Amendment and the current construction of the Second Amendment under Bruin. I can simply say to you that a red flag law does not pass that muster. No such regulation, such as a red flag law, existed at the time that the Second Amendment was adopted, or Article 1, Section 26, which is the guns rights provision in our Tennessee Constitution. I actually want to know, though, I just want to address the policy. Can we have an honest discussion about guns? And the answer is no. And why is that? Well, just take the statistic that's in the resolution that you all are considering. It says that the leading cause of deaths for children is gun violence, and that's not true. Unless, of course, you want to include 18 and 19-year-olds. Well, do we include 18 and 19-year-olds as children for criminal prosecutions? Do we consider them children for sexual consent? Do we consider them children for our movies? Do we consider them children for smoking? Do we consider them children for voting? The answer is no. They're adults. And 18 and 19-year-olds compose the greatest percentage of people killed. If you want to include, all the people under age 20, that's the greatest proportion of people who are killed by guns. And that's, of course, because they're involved in things like gang wars and drug violence and things of that nature. It's not true that guns are the leading cause of death for children, but gun grabbers use this for public policy discussions because it's an emotional charge they can use to bludgeon the uninformed. Did you all know that on March 26th, on Interstate 24 in Robertson County, that 4 children died in a car wreck? You probably don't know about that. Why is that? Why is that? There were no marches in Nashville. There was no taking over the House chamber for the General Assembly. There was no national media attention. This happens all the time. Children are killed in car wrecks. And you probably don't know that because there's been no furor, no emotional furor or national media frenzy. And I know what people are saying. They're saying, oh, wait a minute, that's a false equivalency because cars are good and they're for transportation and guns are evil and they're bad. They're not equivalent. That's not true because when you're defending your family or when a woman is defending herself from an attempted rape and shooting the assaulter, guns have a legitimate purpose. So the proper way to frame this issue is that guns have a legitimate purpose and cars or vehicles have a legitimate purpose, and they both can be used in unlawful ways. So it's not a false equivalency, but what is instructive is to observe the difference in reaction between tragedies that occur through the use of these two tools in an unlawful way. Why is there such a stark difference? It's because there's an agenda. There's an agenda by gun grabbers to take away guns. And the end goal is to take away guns, and they're perfectly happy to do it in an incremental way. So the question is, today, are you all going to draw the line and stand against the emotional furor that the gun grabbers want you to engage in and make a knee-jerk reaction, or are you going to stand firm on principle? Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jeff Irwin, followed by Elizabeth Chan and Carween Chan.
Hi, my name is Jeff Irwin, Knox County. I am a gun owner, strong supporter of the Second Amendment. In the wake of the Nashville shooting, Governor Lee has called for a special session to discuss gun reform. Any such discussion must be fact-based. FBI statistics show that 60% of the annual gun deaths in this country are due to suicide. 33% are due to gang-on-gang violence. The remaining 7% due to other causes. Common sense gun reform is needed to holistically address suicide and gang violence, as well as active shooter situations in our schools, with the key words here being common sense and holistic. Mental health is a major driver of gun violence, and there are clearly individuals who should not be allowed to own firearms.
Having said that, part of the proposed order protection regulations should include a reporting mechanism for those, or they has a reporting mechanism for those who may pose a risk to themselves. While worth considering, we must remember that totalitarian regimes in the past have encouraged citizens to spy and report on each other for nefarious purposes. When you consider human nature, any such measure must be regulated so that the basis for reporting a fellow citizen is limited, well-defined, and fact-based. The time frame within which these reports are investigated and resolved must be brief, days and weeks, not months and years, and include the right for those accused to face their accusers. Finally, anyone found guilty of using order protection regulations for political, retaliatory, punitive, or similar reasons should face harsh penalties, including significant monetary fines and jail time. The penalty for misusing these regulations must be so severe that there is a genuine deterrent to such acts and a very high bar for reporting a fellow citizen. Current proposals to harden schools are commendable, but should be expanded to include training for educators, other school officials to identify problem students. This training should be coupled with a safe and secure reporting mechanism to initiate a discrete investigation. If sufficient evidence is found to classify that student as a threat, then that student and their parents should be counseled or otherwise engaged so as to mitigate the threat. Lastly, none of these steps above address gang violence, which will continue to be an issue. Gang violence must be addressed as part of the overall conversation on gun safety and any resulting legislation. In closing, I'd ask the Commission to urge the Tennessee Legislature to take a holistic and common sense approach to gun reform, including the items that I've just spoken about. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir. Elizabeth Chan.
Hi, Elizabeth Chan, Knox County. I'm against the extreme risk protection orders, aka ERPL. I grew up in Hong Kong knowing that Hong Kong was going to be given back to China. My parents moved us here in hope of escaping communism. The process took about 10 years, and it's because a lot of people wanted it. And I've been blessed with the freedom that I wouldn't have had if I did not move. In a catch-up Zoom call with my old classmates from Hong Kong last year, I learned that one of my classmates live in China now. And during the call, I was shocked to learn that his daily functions like working or buying groceries, etc., all depend on a QR code on his phone. And the QR code gets updated daily based on his daily COVID test. And if he's deemed unsafe, then the QR code reflects that, and he would not be able to do anything at all. And his basic human rights and freedom are completely disregarded. I was curious of what happens if there is a false positive, or a malfunction of a computer system, or if someone just didn't like him and manipulated the results. When the proposal of ERPL came up, it made me think of my classmate with regard to an individual being deemed safe or unsafe by the society or government. It made me question who is going to make the call on whether someone should be deemed dangerous. What if someone does not like their neighbors and report them as dangerous? This would allow the government to go in and remove their property, including guns in this case, that are supposed to be protected under the Second Amendment of the Constitution. Basically, this individual's human rights and freedom are completely disregarded, kind of like guilty until proven innocent. Please note that I recognize the weight of mental health issue in our society. However, I do not believe that yielding our freedom and rights based on a knee-jerk reaction of a tragedy is a good idea. We need to identify the core of the issue and respond wisely and effectively. My friends and family who are in Hong Kong and China give me a glimpse of how life is like without basic human rights and freedom. I am thankful that we still have it, but it also made me realize how it could be if we do not protect it carefully. It's easy to lose it gradually. The last 3 years have shown me that we are slowly and surely moving to a direction that we're giving them more and more power to the government, and ERPL is another step to do that. When that power is misused, which we are seeing in real time these days,
Justice and liberty for all are endangered. I strongly encourage you to reject the concept of ERPL.
Thank you. Kar Wing Chan. State your name and county of residence, and you have 3 minutes, and be sure to speak closely to the microphone.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Carl Wing Chan. I'm a resident of Knox County. I thank you all for your time and efforts in fulfilling the offices of the Knox County Commission, supporting policies that represent the views of the citizens that you represent. I come before you as such a citizen of this county to present my views, the views of my family, and the views of my friends and neighbors in the community. It is my understanding that extreme risk protection orders, which I shall reference as ERPOs, are seizure of property, where the recipient is stripped of their firearms. Allowing ERPO sets a precedence for the courts and government to seize other types of property in the future, supposedly for the good of the individual or the society. Where will this end? Do you want the government to take away your chainsaws or your internet service or something else because someone decided that this was harmful to you or caused you to harm others? That is the direction that will be taken if you support ERPOs. Now, some may say that one can appeal this, but that requires the person to have the money, the time, and the knowledge to file and win the appeal. Those that are poor will not be able to take this action because they cannot afford the court or lawyer fees, nor have the time to take off from their jobs to do this. In addition, ERPO operates on assigning guilt to the subject who is innocent, which goes against our criminal system, which says a person is innocent until proven guilty. ERPOs also increase violent confrontations between police and subjects when police go to seize firearms from unsuspecting subjects. An example of this happened in Maryland's Anne Arundel County, where the subject was killed. More fatalities and higher anti-police feelings will increase because of ERPOs. As a result, ERPOs cause more deaths and disintegrates the trust between citizens and the police. Misuse of ERPO can strip an innocent of the ability to protect themselves. While they have the opportunity to appeal afterwards, there is a period of time where the person lacks the ability to defend themselves. A criminal can make up a false statement against someone or force someone else to make this false statement so that a judge would order the police to take the individual's firearms. During this time, the criminal is free to harm or kill that individual now that the individual is unarmed. Your neighbor who may not like you or who wants to make life difficult for you can falsely file a statement with the police to use ERPO to strip you of your rights to bear arms. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next is Anand Patel, followed by Gabriela Sanchez Benitez, Sherry Witt. I'm sorry, not Sherry Witt, Sherry Garrett. Freudian slip.
Anand Patel, Knox County. Bullets are replaceable, kids are not. The Uvalde shooter obtained his weapon completely legally. The Covenant shooter obtained 7 weapons completely legally. The bank shooter received his weapons completely legally. The single-use bullets that fired once, then served no purpose, took the precious lives of numerous children. Why? Why are we so divided on this issue? There's absolutely no reason to be divided over the death of 3 children and 3 workers in our state. 17 kids like me studying for AP tests, the first of which is in less than 2 weeks. Why are those at a country music concert in Las Vegas not here today? Why are those celebrating a Sweet 16 in Alabama not here today? Why are those partying at Pulse nightclub in Orlando not here today? Why are 3 9-year-olds wanting to learn in Nashville not here today? Why are the families shopping at a Walmart in El Paso not here today? 5 whys that need to be answered here and now. 5 whys that don't need thoughts and prayers. 5 whys that need action. 5 whys of which numerous shooters had obtained their weapons within the full support of the American law. What a grand country we have. Such a grand country that the pleas cried out by our children are met with agendas, not the agendas of gun grabbers, because guess what gun grabbers don't have? Billions of dollars. I can tell you of an agenda being pushed, however, an agenda pushed by an organization that has billions of dollars and gives politicians a letter grade based on how well they ignore or divert the cries of children. Now, there was earlier talk about how banning guns or even limiting guns doesn't stop people from getting it. Why don't we keep that same attitude up with marijuana? We see all these instances. People at my own school, people, high schoolers, college students, marijuana is illegal, yet we still find ways to obtain it. Yes, that applies with everything, but guess what makes it harder to obtain something illegal? Having stricter regulation. So why are we regulating marijuana but not regulating guns? Why are we regulating something that can be used for recreational use when we're not regulating something that has taken the lives of so many children just like me? Thank you.
Thank you. Gabriela Sanchez Benitez.
Gabriela Sanchez Benitez, Knox County, District 2. I am a junior at Fulton High School, and I'm here in hopes to get you guys to support agenda item number 45. I, like many other of my peers and those within my county, want to walk into school, into grocery stores, into public, or even just walk out of our houses without having to worry about getting shot and losing our lives. The fear of losing our lives to gun violence reigns youth, and this is not how it should be. Our nation is said to be the land of opportunity, the land of the free and the land of the brave. Our youth have the opportunity to make their lives great, to make differences, and yet this is taken from us at the hands of gun violence. Those who lost their lives to the hands of gun violence got those rights and opportunities stolen from them. We are not free. We are tied down by chains of fear. Fear that the next time we walk into school or just outside of our lives, our houses, we'll lose our lives, we'll lose our opportunities, our rights. This is common sense. Whether somebody can get their guns legally or illegally, the purpose should be to limit access in the first place. Not all violence can be taken away from red flag laws, but we cannot be reactive and hope one person and then another person becomes better. We have to be proactive. I urge you all to support this resolution for our futures and the futures of my peers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Sherry Garrett, followed by Keith Britt.
I know how to use it.
Thank you.
That's what comes from being vertically challenged. My name is Sherry Garrett, and I live in Knox County. You won't get gun control by disarming law-abiding citizens. There's only one way to get real gun control. Disarm the thugs and the criminals, lock them up, and if you don't actually throw away the key, then at least lose it for a long time. President Ronald Reagan gave this in a speech in 1983. I'm not going to go into our Second Amendment rights of citizens to own and bear firearms. It's an inherent right codified by our Constitution, not a privilege. Driving a car is a privilege. Owning a firearm is not. It is a right. In order to attempt to fix what's going on with this crisis, we need to get to the root cause. As a nurse, patients come into our office with symptoms, and working with a nurse practitioner or a doctor, we take those symptoms in order to come up with a diagnosis, in order to treat the disease. If you don't get to the cause of the symptom, the root cause, the disease will never be diagnosed or cured. As you've heard others talk about, we have a mental health crisis in our country, as well as in our county. We also have a crime problem in our country. But until we're ready to fix the mental health problem and deal with criminals, we will continue to have the symptoms. My suggestions would be to try to regulating criminals first and getting help for the mentally ill. There's several things in the resolution that I felt were problematic. The deaths of children, the statistics have already been talked about earlier. But let's go into the background check. While there may be some loopholes, this would not have prevented the tragedy in Covenant School, as 7 firearms were purchased legally at 5 different gun stores, which means she went through 7 background checks, which means it is a crime to lie on a background check. It's a felony with up to 10 years in prison. Yet it is rarely, if ever, prosecuted. And now the existing policies. The state of Tennessee should take further steps to keep firearms and other weapons from those who pose a threat to themselves or others, such as the Covenant shooter. Yet we have laws in place that would not violate the due process of a firearms owner. TCA 33-6-402, as Ms. Stafford brought forward earlier, provides for the immediate detention of dangerous criminals experiencing a mental health crisis by a law enforcement officer, physician, psychologist, or other designated professionals. This procedure can be utilized when the person has a mental illness or serious emotional disturbance and the person poses an immediate, substantial likelihood of serious harm because of mental illness or serious emotional disturbance. Now, my question is, if someone is such a threat that they must have an extreme risk protection order filed against them, why are they still allowed in public? I recently tried to help a friend of mine to get help for her son who was in a mental health crisis. It took weeks to get some kind of help for him. She went to the sheriff's department, no help. She called mobile crisis. All they did was give her a list of psychologists and psychiatrists to contact. She finally did get help, but she was in fear for her son's life because he was in imminent harm of hurting himself. I'm going to end this with a quote from President Ronald Reagan. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We'll preserve for our children this is the last best hope on earth, or we will sentence them to take the last steps into 1,000 years of darkness. When Nikita Khrushchev has told his people he knows what our answer will be, he has told them that we are retreating under the pressure of the Cold War, and someday when the time comes to deliver the final ultimatum, our surrender will be voluntary, because by that time we will have weakened from within spiritually, morally, and economically. He believes this because from our side he has heard voices pleading for peace at any price, or better red than dead, or as one commentator put it, he would rather live on his knees than die on his feet. And therein lies the road to war, because those voices don't speak for the rest of us. Somewhere a perversion has taken place. Our natural inalienable rights are now considered to be a dispensation of government, and freedom has never been so fragile, so close to slipping from our grasp as it is at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Last on our list is Keith Britt.
Keith Britt, 506 Knowlton Drive. I'm sorry. that degraded very quickly. I'd like to start off by just thanking this commission. Some of you did bring some political leanings into this discussion, but I think each of you made an honest effort to focus on your community and serving the people you represent. I hate that it's gotten to these political factions. I don't know what the students who wrote this resolution, what their initial motivation was, but I suspect it was they saw we have one of the most Republican conservative governors in the nation. Maybe if we support something that he is championing, he is pushing for, maybe that can bring some bipartisan support to the safety of kids that are literally being hunted down in their schools. I think they were wrong. I was hopeful for them. I was wrong. Just to give you an example from my personal life, before my father died in 2017, he started experiencing the symptoms of dementia, and Jesus and several high-profile politicians started talking to him through his radio in his bathroom, and those voices told him that the downstairs neighbors were coming up to rape him. And so, as a retired first sergeant from the U.S. Army, he went to his gun cabinet and pulled out a rifle, took it outside, and threatened a 6- and 8-year-old with it. I got a call from the Hamlin County Sheriff's Office saying I needed to come to my father's apartment, and instead of arresting him, I was able to convince him to take him to a hospital, but they couldn't take his guns, and they couldn't ask me to take his guns because there was no law to do that. So with a nose tap and a wink, they let me know that I should steal all the guns out of his house. And that's what I did. I took 7 rifles out of his house, and that was a crime. That was a crime by me. But it was clearly the thing that needed to be done. Now, I don't think they care what you do. I don't think they care if you support a red flag or a mental health law. I don't think they care. They just need you to do something because we are scared. I'm teaching my 4-year-olds about drawing fire away from their friends if there's an active shooter in their school, because there's nothing else to help them. And we're terrified. We need you to do something. So you don't have to do this, but don't leave here tonight doing nothing. Don't just wait for something bad to happen again. Godspeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Kristen Barnes, have you arrived? Kristen Barnes? Okay, that concludes our public forum for agenda topics. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Approval of minutes of the previous meeting.
Second. Motion to approve the minutes by Commissioner Jay with a second by Commissioner Frazier. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk.
Item 31, consideration of acceptance of new county roads. A is Amber Vista Lane in Ambercrest Subdivision, District 8. B is Liberty Park Road. C, Heritage Ridge Lane. D, Providence Point Lane. They're all located in Heritage at Bluegrass, District 4. E is Finley Ridge Lane. F, Oliver Hills Lane. G, Scouts Meadow Lane. They're located in Cane Vista, District 3. And H is Bell Pond Avenue. I, Cedar Break Drive. They're located in Everett Woods, District 6.
Is there a motion? Motion to approve by Commissioner Jay with a second by Commissioner Beeler. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk.
32 is consideration of a closure of a portion of the right-of-way along South Gallagher View Road, Commission District 5, on second reading.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Schoonmaker with a second by Commissioner Oster. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No motion carries. Madam Clerk.
33 is consideration of the closure of a portion of Roseberry Creek Lane, Commission District 8, second reading.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Beeler with a second by Commissioner Daly. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk.
34, line item transfers, total amount of $632,454.24.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Jay with a second by Commissioner Schoonmaker. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk.
35, budget amendments, total amount of $4,429.20.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Jay with a second by Commissioner Schoonmaker. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk.
197, notary application.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve notary applications by Commissioner Jay with a second by Commissioner Oster. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
36, spread of record, the Knox County Mayor's order reappointing Jack Huddleston to the Board of Commissioners of the Luttrell Blaine Corrington Utility District. 37, spread of record, travel for the National Association of Counties, NACO, 2023 Legislative Conference. 38, spread of record, travel for the Tennessee County Service Association, TCSA 2023 County Government Day Conference.
Thank you.
39 is Resolution 111. It's appointing an individual to serve on the Knox County Sheriff's Office Merit System Board of Directors. Term expires September 30th, 2026.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, as we have done in the past, the procedure for this, the clerk will call the roll, and when your name is called, you may nominate from our candidates and once we have gone down the roll, we will look for a nomination to cease, or motion to cease nomination, excuse me. Clerk will call roll again, and at that time, you will say the name of the candidate in which you would like to appoint to the position. The candidate that receives a majority will be the person appointed. If there is no majority, the candidate with the lowest number of votes will drop off, and we will repeat the process. I do want to see if Ms. Tina Watts is in attendance, since she did miss last week. Ms. Watts? I don't see her, and our office has not heard from her. So our applicants are as follows: Mike Brown, Michael Crichton, Denny Ford, Brock Gates, and Gerald Weller. Right. Sure.
Commissioner Lundy.
Pass.
Commissioner Lundy passes. Commissioner Durrett.
Pass.
Commissioner Durrett passes. Commissioner Oster.
Gates.
Commissioner Oster nominates Mr. Gates. Mr. Ward is absent. Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Mr. Ford.
Commissioner Schoonmaker nominates Mr. Ford. Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Hill passes. Commissioner Lee. Commissioner Lee passes. Commissioner Baylor.
Pass.
Commissioner Baylor passes. Commissioner Daly.
Brown.
Commissioner Daly nominates Mr. Brown. Commissioner J.
Mr. Crichton.
Commissioner J nominates Mr. Crichton. Commissioner Frazier.
Pass.
Commissioner Frazier passes.
Our nominees are Mr. Gates, Mr. Ford, Mr. Brown, and Mr. Crichton. Pardon me? Do any passes wish to make any other nomination? Okay. Is there a motion to cease nomination?
So moved to cease nomination. Second.
Motion to cease by Commissioner Beeler with a second by Commissioner Jay. All those in favor to cease nomination, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Now, this round, we will be voting for the actual appointee.
Commissioner Durrett.
Mr. Gates.
Commissioner Durrett votes for Mr. Gates. Commissioner Oster.
Gates.
Commissioner Oster votes for Mr. Gates. Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Mr. Ford.
Commissioner Schoonmaker votes for Mr. Ford. Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Hill votes for Mr. Gates. Commissioner Lee.
Gates.
Commissioner Lee votes for Mr. Gates. Commissioner Beeler.
Mr. Ford.
Commissioner Beeler votes for Mr. Ford. Commissioner Daly.
Ford.
Commissioner Daly votes for Mr. Ford. Commissioner J.
Crichton.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Crichton.
Commissioner J votes for Mr. Crichton. Commissioner Frazier.
Crichton.
Commissioner Frazier votes for Mr. Crichton. And Commissioner Lundy.
Gates.
Commissioner Lundy votes for Mr. Gates.
So no applicant received a majority vote. The person receiving, well, Mr. Law Director, I have a question. So we had one applicant that did not receive any, and then one that received the lowest number. Is it just the one that
Under
does?
the rules, it's just the lowest
Just
number.
the lowest. Okay, so Mr. Brown will fall off, and so our pool to choose from would be Mr. Gates, Mr. Ford, and Mr. Crichton.
Commissioner Oster.
Gates.
Commissioner Oster votes for Mr. Gates. Commissioner Schoonmaker.
Ford.
Commissioner Schoonmaker votes for Mr. Ford. Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Hill votes for Mr. Gates. Commissioner Lee.
Gates.
Commissioner Lee votes for Mr. Gates. Commissioner Beeler.
Mr. Ford.
Commissioner Beeler votes for Mr. Ford. Commissioner Daly. Commissioner Daly votes for Mr. Ford. Commissioner J.
Ford.
Commissioner J votes for Mr. Ford. Commissioner Frazier.
Gates.
Commissioner Frazier votes for Mr. Gates. Commissioner Lundy.
Gates.
Commissioner Lundy votes for Mr. Gates. Commissioner Durrett.
Gates.
Commissioner Durrett votes for Mr. Gates.
Mr. Gates received 6, so he will be our appointment to the Merit System Board of Directors. Congratulations. Madam Clerk, will you now read the resolution? With Mr. Gates' name included.
This is a resolution appointing Brock Gates to serve on the Knox County Sheriff's Office Employees Merit System Board of Directors. Term expires September 30th, 2026.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion to approve by Commissioner Oster with a second by Commissioner Lee. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much, sir.
I will read the revised caption for the next item, which is Resolution 112. It's accepting the resignation of Steve Weiner, District 5 seat, from the Knox County Library Advisory Board and appointing Michelle Hollenhead to complete the unexpired term of Steve Weiner on said board. Term expires July 1st, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Schoonmaker with a second by Commissioner Frazier. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk?
Item 41, Resolution 402, is adopting the Knox County Code Administration and Inspection Department Schedule of Fees effective July 1st, 2023.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Daly with a second by Commissioner Frazier. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries.
Item number 43, Resolution 702, is approving an honorary naming rights application to rename the Roy Arthur Stormwater Park Kayak Launch at 7221 Harrell Road.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Jay with a second by Commissioner Frazier. Any discussion? Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to recognize Joe Mack and Dwight Vandevate from Mayor's team.
Thank you, Commissioner, Madam Chair. If it pleases the body, we appreciate your understanding. In the late edition, it was done, quite frankly, to try to preserve the surprise of the moment. I'll hand this off to Director Mack, but I did want to share with you just a brief moment of history regarding the water trail. Its inception actually predates many of your careers as elected officials. Way back when, and I do not remember the year, under the administration of then Mayor Tim Burchett, Cox Creek, which was a tributary to Beaver Creek, was delisted from the list of 303D impaired streams. It was a great milestone for us, and it recognized that cleanup efforts were working and that the waters were improving and that we were doing the right thing in Knox County. That was a spark for an idea to put kayaks on Beaver Creek. It was the only waterway that has its headwaters and its termination all in Knox County. The headwaters are way up in Coreyton, and the termination is at Melton Hill Lake. But from start to finish, Beaver Creek is in Knox County, Tennessee. Much of it is navigable, and from there, this project it's had twists and turns and leaps and bounds and highs and lows and difficult moments, but it really stands now on its own, on the merits. And much of that is due to community support, and much of that is due to the honoree you're going to hear about today. So with that, I'll turn it over to Director Mack.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
This was one of the fun things that I get to do as the Senior Director of Parks and Recreation, is to recognize someone that's really made an impact, a huge impact in the community. Without individuals like this, a lot of the things that we do wouldn't happen. It was with great pleasure that I was able to work on this naming rights nomination and then get the mayor and also Commissioner Jay to sponsor it. So without further ado, and we kept this a secret as long as we could with regards to our nomination, because we wanted to, one, surprise him, but also make sure that we didn't bring the thousands of his fans down to the Assembly Hall today. This resolution that we are requesting is for Charlie Austin to have the Roy Arthur Stormwater Park renamed, the kayak launch, renamed in his honor. For those of you that don't know Charlie Austin, I'll give you a little brief history. Charlie's worked tirelessly on cleaning up Beaver Creek for almost a decade now. And what started as a small group of friends looking for a recreational way to spend a day together in the community has evolved into a juggernaut of a community organization with almost 4,000 members that are dedicated to the cleanup, preservation, and promotion of one of Knox County's natural resources, Beaver Creek. Charlie has continuously encouraged the communities that the creek flows through, Gibbs, Halls, Powell, Carnes, and Solway, to get involved and do something. The Beaver Creek Watershed Green Infrastructure Plan, which is a technical report that came out back in 2006. And it was done by two professors from the University of Tennessee here at Knoxville, the College of Architecture and Design. They recommended that the creek use the green infrastructure approach to help protect and restore natural functioning ecosystems, and they proposed these solutions that can improve water quality and mitigate flooding and enhance recreation opportunities. Charlie almost single-handedly has taken on this responsibility and has led the charge for all of the improvements, so much so that he has urged the local government, Knox County, and we have dedicated a crew, an entire work crew, to clean up Beaver Creek. All of this basically was spawned from one person's desire to see something done in their community. So we ask humbly that Roy Arthur Stormwater Park's ADA accessible kayak launch be renamed Charlie's Launch. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Mack. Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Vandevate, and thank you, Director Mack, for putting forth this effort. Thank you to Mayor Jacobs as well for his unwavering support of the Beaver Creek Cleanup Project. I will very briefly echo that there are a few people that I have found in this community that are more dedicated and passionate with more diligence on a daily basis, persistence, stubbornness. That's probably why we're such good friends now, because it tends to be the same with me sometimes. Beaver Creek, I was introduced to Beaver Creek by Charlie Austin within, I'd say, days of being elected in 2018, in my first term. And although I had been part of the Knox County and Knoxville community for close to 25 years at that point, I knew nothing about Beaver Creek until I got a call and said, come float with us and help us understand what a gem we have. And it was Charlie and the team from the Beaver Creek Kayak Club, along with other community members, who helped me understand what this meant. And it goes far beyond recreational kayaking. It is the watershed. It is the drain for the entire northern half of Knox County. And with support from Mayor Jacobs, from support from Dwight, Director Mack, the Beaver Creek Kayak Club, and you all, you all have been behind this since day one, and we have reduced the flooding. We have increased the water quality. We have opened up recreation, and we have brought in a tremendous asset to the table. It is not done yet. We are still clearing it, cleaning it, and caring for it every day. But there will be a day where you will be able to get into a floatable device in Halls and get out in Melton Hill or anywhere along the way. And that started with and will be finished, I'm positive, by Charlie Austin. So I can't think of somebody that this is more deserving for. And Charlie's launch will no doubt be a place for us to put in and take out kayaks, but I imagine we'll sit by it and share stories and fish and do all the things in Roy Arthur Stormwater Park, the other champion. So with that, I'd like to take a vote, but I'd also like to invite Mr. Charlie Austin to come down to the podium and talk a little bit about Beaver Creek. So could we vote first and then go ahead and get the parliamentary part out of the way?
Commissioner Hill has her light on as well.
Sorry.
Commissioner Hill?
Thank you. This was, in fact, a wonderful thing to happen for a wonderful person. And a few other things you may not know about this man who thinks he's running off, but he's not up there, is he has the same passion for his community about every other thing that goes on too. If there's a volunteer needed for anything in the Carnes community or even surrounding communities, I will tell you this man is there. And he has trained his family well, because it is not just him. It is his wife. It is his two precious children. It is his mom and dad. If there was ever a definition of a family of service, it is the Austin family. For those reasons, I'd like to also be added to this wonderful honor as a sponsor.
Commissioner Oster?
Madam Chair, with being from Carnes, I'm very proud to have somebody from Carnes doing such a wonderful job, so I would also like to sign on.
Would full commission like to sign on?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Mm-hmm.
We all know that's why we do it, right, our children? What an honor. Thank you all. As Commissioner Hill said, I talk about it all the time. Community's not where you live, it's what you do. You got to be a part of it. We had the grand ideal to float Beaver Creek and did it in inner tubes growing up in Carnes High School. Grew up in Solway, and people said, you're crazy. You'll never float Beaver Creek. Well, we knew we could. We just had to have the right pieces on board. You can't do any journey alone. Everybody came along, believed in what we were doing. Commission, Mayor Jacobs, Joe Mack. Joe stepped in and was like, wow, this could be a really cool project. We talked about it. What a great, I mean, Beaver Creek, if you don't know the stream, as they talked about, the entirety in Knox County. So what an uncovered hidden gem that we had. And now as sections come apart, Parks and Rec's clearing it, just doing a phenomenal job. The club did it for several years in the water. We still do it on the weekends. Didn't have the right equipment to do it. We had this equipment. So that's what we used. So to get Knox County to support that project and Mayor Jacobs' office to understand how important it was, you know, as we talked about, not just recreation, but we're improving water quality. If you've driven by Beaver Creek, get out and stop. Look at the water quality. It's really changed. It's very, very pretty water now. Flooding's being reduced. So, you know, me and Commissioner Jay talked about it early on. If we could accomplish those two goals, recreation would follow by itself. And it is. It certainly is. Great honor. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir. Motion is to approve by Commissioner Jay with a second by Commissioner Frazier. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Item number 44, Resolution 801, is approving the contract repayment schedule and promissory note on the 2008 advance made to the Knox County Community Action Committee, CAC.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Frazier with a second by Commissioner Oster. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Madam Clerk, next item.
The next item is number 45. It's Resolution 907, and I'll be reading a revised caption. It's a resolution urging the state legislature to support Governor Bill Lee in his executive order and to explore effective and constitutional means to control access to weapons by persons who constitute a threat to themselves or others.
Thank you. Commissioners, I brought a revised version due to the recent submission of Governor Lee's draft language regarding his 11-page proposed bill. And I didn't agree with it 100%, and the way the resolution was written prior to that submission made it sound like we would be supporting it 100%, so therefore I've offered this revised version. Madam Clerk, would you read it into in its entirety? Please.
Whereas on March 27th, our state lost 6 precious lives, 3 of those children. Sadly, the mass shooting at the Covenant School in Nashville, Tennessee is not a standalone incident. And whereas untreated mental health issues contribute to the gun violence which pervades the lives of our children and our community. In the United States, gun violence is a leading cause of death for our children. And whereas some gun purchases in Tennessee are made without a background check, closing the background check loophole would ensure a background check for the vast majority of gun sales in Tennessee, including online sales and gun shows. And whereas Tennessee has existing policies aimed at keeping weapons out of the wrong hands, however, the state of Tennessee should take further steps to keep firearms and other weapons from those who pose a threat to themselves or others, such as the Covenant shooter. Now therefore be it resolved by the Commission of Knox County as follows. The Commission of Knox County hereby urges the state legislature to support Governor Bill Lee in his executive order empowering the Tennessee Instant Check System, TICS, to conduct more effective, comprehensive, and timely background checks of those potential purchasers and possessors of firearms. Be it further resolved that Commission urges the state legislature to address mental illness, especially as it leads to crime and violence in our state. Be it further resolved that the Commission urges the legislature and the governor to study effective and constitutional means to address access to firearms, other weapons, and impoverished weapons by individuals who suffer with mental illness and are danger to themselves and/or others, while ensuring the Second Amendment rights of Tennesseans remain intact and violent and protected. Be it further resolved that the county clerk is hereby requested to forward a copy to this resolution to Governor Bill Lee and the members of the Knox County State Legislative Delegation. Be it further resolved that this resolution is to take effect from and after its passage as provided by the Charter of Knox County, Tennessee, the public welfare requiring it.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Move to approve.
I'll second. Motion is to approve by Commissioner Lundy with a second by Commissioner Durrett. Discussion, Commissioner Hill.
Thank you. I would like to make a substitute motion at this time. I believe that you all have gotten a copy of it, and I will read it for those that are out there. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Commission of Knox County as follows. We, members of Knox County Commission, implore the Governor of Tennessee and the Tennessee General Assembly to work together to address the issues of access to weapons by those in mental health crisis who pose a threat to themselves and to the public. And that is the resolution in its entirety.
Second.
Substitute motion on the floor is to accept the resolution Commissioner Hill just read into the record by Commissioner Hill with a second by Commissioner Beeler. Commissioner Lee, I saw your light first.
Yes, I had a few comments to make. First of all, regarding the Junior Commission, thank you all for coming. And I did want to say that sometimes the data that you can get can be skewed, as in the data that you all have quoted from, including suicide and gang-related violence. President Obama said something about don't let a crisis go to waste. And I think there are some people concerning this issue of the school in Nashville has an agenda. We have a crisis right here in Tennessee of fentanyl that are killing hundreds of people, young people, your age, every year. I personally have had 6 die this year from fentanyl overdose that's coming across our borders that's illegal. But I don't see crowds of people standing up to fight against that. I am 8 generations of Tennessee. My ancestors came across the ocean, number 1, to worship their God, number 2, their right to bear arms. We have had lots and lots of millions of drops of blood shed to protect our rights. Our gun rights are important. Putting the hands in our state of about 100 years ago, this country thought we should sterilize mentally ill people, and we did. We sterilized many, many thousands of women under the guise of we're not going to let the mentally ill have children. Guess what? They were wrong. There were lots of innocent women that were poor that were sterilized, that were not mentally ill. That was putting a right in the hands of our government. The government being able to make a decision of who's mentally ill and who's mentally not fit to carry a gun is on a dangerous slope. I will not support any of Governor Lee's order of protection in any form or fashion to take away our gun rights, our constitutional right to bear a gun. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to ask the maker of the substitute motion, what was the impotence behind going from a resolution in great detail to one that in one sentence?
This whole thing has given, I think, everyone on this commission a whole lot of heartburn. It's been real hard to sit back and look at so many things that we might agree that are in it, and yet see several things that we did not agree. And the irony of all of this is that this is a state's issue anyway. Why we are even having to really devote the time we're having to is probably another matter entirely. But that said, we did have a proper resolution in front of us. I will tell you, I do not think that weapons should be in the hands of mentally ill people. I do not think they should be in the hands of people that are a danger to themselves or danger to others. I am not going to sit here and debate the merits of who should not make those decisions. And even that in of itself is probably, can be certainly questionable. But to go beyond dealing with the mental health issue and the mental health crisis that we have in our country, knowing full well that, at least in my view, probably the vast majority of people who have been involved in shooting incidents have been mentally ill people, is where I genuinely believe if we're going to see any improvement in this situation at all, we need to address our mental health crisis in this country.
Are there any other lights on? I might come back if there is more discussion.
I don't see any others.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Hill, for the explanation. I thought the revised version of the original motion was much better than the first one. I took a moment today to go back and listen to Governor Lee's address that he did. It was about 6.5 minutes where he explained the what and the why and the purpose behind the legislation that he asked for from the Assembly. I reread his executive order and read the current legislation that is being proposed, and I imagine will be taken up at the special session coming up I'm sure sometime this month or next month. It seemed really clear, and Commissioner Hill, you were right. We as Knox County Commission do not have any jurisdiction over guns. It's a state and federal jurisdiction. We as Knox County abide by the laws and we uphold the laws that are passed both locally on a state level and on a federal level. Several years ago, members of the commission pushed to enter in a resolution of declaring us a Second Amendment sanctuary county, and I passed on that, saying this is not our jurisdiction, and yet this commission took action to make a statement. Even though it was not likely legal or constitutional, it was passed anyway with flying colors. And so when I reread the resolution today, it's a statement. It's a statement that at its core says we support our governor. And it outlines virtually the same things that our governor is asking for of our lawmakers. And it's not it's not our job to, and not our jurisdiction to debate the merits of that, debate the constitutionality of it. That is for the lawmakers. That's for the judicial branch to be the check and balance, to review laws just like any other law. But that statement says we support our governor in his efforts to make this a better state and ultimately to make it a more perfect union, because it was not perfect when it began, and we have continued to evolve and tweak and change and become, I think, a better country every single day. And so a lot of language in the original Constitution would be appalling to most people, and we have changed and changed and changed, and we have evolved as a country. I'm quite proud of our country. I'm quite proud of our governor. I'm quite proud of our commission. I'm not going to I'm not going to support the substitute motion, because I think the revised motion, frankly, did allow us to take a stand and say we support our governor. Not to dig into the merits of what might be legislated, but to say something incredibly watered down and simple doesn't do much to even further the conversation. So I appreciate the time. I'm not going to support the substitute motion, but if for some reason it would fail, then I would support the original motion on the table.
Thank you, Commissioner Beeler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to state for the record that the fact that this body does not have any specific authority related to gun laws is the very reason why I seconded the substitute motion, and I support the reduced specificity of the substitute motion. I think what we're doing here is we're making a statement of general support to our governor and legislature to explore further action that might be necessary to help mitigate gun violence. To get into the specifics of what and instant check system and different things that are specified in the original amendment of the first resolution, I'm just not comfortable getting into that level of specificity because of the fact that we're not the body that makes the decision. We're just making a statement of general support. And furthermore, I do not support the governor in so much as he might ask for red flag laws or any other such law that might go by a different name. So I do support the substitute motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Beeler. Commissioner Frazier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too want to commend our young advocates for engaging and conveying their thoughts and concerns in a truly meaningful way. And I want to thank everyone who came out tonight and everyone who called or emailed or sent a text and shared your thoughts and concerns. I'm of the opinion that I think it's critically important to listen and consider all sides of not just this issue, but all issues. Because I have found that every side of an issue is important to someone. And that's really where my hesitation began with the original resolution. I have no doubt that we all agree that any act that results in the loss of life is a tragedy. And what happened at the Covenant School, it's horrific, and it is devastating. I also have no doubt that as citizens, spouses, mothers, and fathers, we all feel like we need to do something. But I'm also of the opinion that action needs to produce effective solutions. And it's my opinion that in order to do that, we need an opportunity to hear from all sides and consider closely every perspective, inclusive of those from officials who were elected to represent their people, professionals who are really in this day in and day out, organized groups with significant research and data, families of victims and offenders, and students and citizens. I am not a fan of executive orders. I feel that they are a force of law that is absent of a democratic process and absent of the opportunity for discussion and broader consideration. And that's what I felt that we had. An absence of discussion by lawmakers who represent the voices in this room, the voices of our county, the voices of our state, and the voices of our country. I agree with some of the governor's proposed amendments and additions, but I would like to see our state legislators have the opportunity to come together and work together to better understand this issue, better understand all of the problems, better understand what and who we are trying to regulate, and we can't do that in a pragmatic, calm, and rational way until we have all of the information and can have intentional conversation. The governor just proposed his amendments and additions this past weekend. I think more time is needed and more consideration is needed. And so I feel like this substitute motion, that is a way for us to say, we want you to do something. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Frazier. Commissioner Oster.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to reiterate Commissioner Frazier, Commissioner Beeler. I want to thank Commissioner Hill for the substitute motion that I will be supporting. And I also want to thank Madam Chair for going back and looking and revising what she had in there. I don't know if we have gotten to the point in the country that we can't reach across the aisles and find common ground. But on the substitute motion, I see the common ground as talking about and putting pressure on our state legislators to do something about mental health. We can't continue to talk about this and do nothing about it as a state. Commissioner Beeler is right. I know people get frustrated when they come to county commission and we say that's not our purview. And that's not to try to shun our job. It's just not our purview. I want to see these young people go down to Nashville, call their representatives, let them be heard, because they're the ones that are making these laws, guys. And I'm happy to say that something needs to be done, but we're not the lawmakers. I agree with Commissioner Frazier. I'm not a fan of an executive order. And I'm not a fan of when you get into red flag laws and some of these other things. So there was things in his executive order I can't agree with, and there were some that I can. And just because he's a Republican and I'm a Republican doesn't mean that I'm going to agree with him all the time. I don't agree with my husband all the time. But we figure out a way to work together. Until we're willing to do that and stop saying, if you don't believe in what I say, then you're not on my side, it's not going to fix anything. And you know, you guys are showing up to not be talked down to not be disrespected. You're showing up because maybe your generation can be the ones that get back to the time when we can reach across the aisle and be friends and not be so nasty and ugly to one another and think that everybody's our enemy if they don't believe the exact way we do. I hope you can do that. And I will support you full-fledged. We'll do that. But I want you guys to know that we've heard you. We respect everybody that's come down here. But I will support the substitute motion only because I believe every Knox County citizen and certainly a representative understands mental health. We are in a crisis. You can see that in the streets with all the homelessness. I'm dealing with that in my district. And a lot of it stems from mental illness. So it's not only the guns, it is people are hurting, they're sick. And we don't have a way right now to accommodate that. And that's wrong for us to do to human beings who are hurting and sick. So I want to thank everybody for being here. And again, I want to thank Madam Chair and Vice Chair Hill.
Is there any more discussion regarding the substitute motion? Commissioner Schoonmaker?
Thank you, Madam Chair. During the work session, we kind of compared the bill that we were going to support the actions of Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally with his 4 ideas of how to improve school security, and then, of course, this resolution. The difference being Randy McNally's letter to the governor was backed up by a House and Senate bill. And we didn't have the final outcome when we met last Monday, but we have it now. It did pass. The Senate passed it just like us, unanimously. And the House passed it on Thursday of last week, but it wasn't unanimously. It was a vote of 86 to 11. And I guess what amazed me is we're trying to do something about a school safety act for all of Tennessee schools, not just public schools, but charter schools, private schools, and church schools. And we wanted to have safety plans and annual audits and locked front doors and cameras with audio and school resource officers. And I guess I was really disappointed that 2 of our state representatives in Knox County, who represent the 1st and 2nd Commission districts, voted against the Enhanced School Safety Act. And so thank goodness it did pass. It's been signed by the Speaker of the House. I have the enhanced copy now. The enrolled copy now, and the Lieutenant Governor will sign it probably this week and then go to the governor. But the difference, I think, of what we're looking at today is there's no legislation attached to the governor's executive order. And yes, he has said that he wants to go ahead and have a special meeting. But when I read through the document that he submitted over the weekend, I agreed with our law director of his analysis on a lot of these points that just he hasn't hit the home run yet. So personally, I would be in favor if we delayed making any kind of recommendation to the governor until we actually know what all the details are. So as far as the substitute motion goes, I'm teetering on of just passing on that, because I just don't think we should be doing anything until we actually know what the governor and the legislature wants to do. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is there any more discussion for the substitute motion? Seeing none, the motion on the floor is a substitute motion by Commissioner Hill with a second by Commissioner Beeler. All those in favor say aye.
No.
All those opposed?
No.
No.
Commissioner Schoonmaker. Commissioner Schoonmaker passes. Commissioner Hill? Yes. Commissioner Hill votes aye. Commissioner Lee?
No.
Commissioner Lee votes no. Commissioner Beeler? Aye. Commissioner Beeler votes aye. Commissioner Daly? No. Commissioner Daly votes no. Commissioner J?
This is on the substitute motion as presented?
Yes.
No.
Commissioner J votes no. Commissioner Frazier? Aye. Commissioner Frazier votes aye. Commissioner Lundy?
No.
Commissioner Lundy votes no. Commissioner Darrett?
No.
Commissioner Darrett votes no. Commissioner Oster? Aye. Commissioner Oster votes aye.
Does anyone wish to change their vote, or does the pass wish to vote? Is it a no? Or a yes? The motion has 4 ayes, 5 noes, and 1 pass. So it fails. So it goes back to the original. Commissioner Daly.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't agree with the governor on his executive order or some of the things that he said. Commissioner Schoonmaker I think is correct that it probably needs to be waited upon. I'm not in favor of this motion. I'll be voting no on this motion.
I want to thank this young gentleman right here. His words ring true. What other rights are going to be taken away from me? What rights are going to be taken away? This is just the beginning. So I will be voting no. There's already laws out there that can take care of gun checks, safety checks, all that. We just need to follow the laws. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I was saying thank you to the young gentleman there at Public Forum. There is laws on the books. There's already checks and balances. You can't go to a gun show without being checked unless you buy from an individual. I hope this resolution, I'm going to vote no. Either this resolution needs to be voted down or needs to be waited on to see exactly what is going to come out of a special session. But I don't agree with the governor's executive orders. I don't like executive orders. We've had executive orders during the COVID 2020, the year that we would love to never happen. And it harmed us and it hurt. So I'll be voting no.
Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, the motion on the floor is to approve the revised version of the Resolution 907. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Roll call.
Commissioner Hill? Commissioner Hill votes no. Commissioner Lee?
No.
Commissioner Lee votes no. Commissioner Beeler?
No.
Commissioner Beeler votes no. Commissioner Daly? No. Commissioner Daly votes no. Commissioner J?
Aye.
Commissioner J votes aye. Commissioner Frazier? Commissioner Frazier votes no. Commissioner Lundy?
Aye.
Commissioner Lundy votes aye. Commissioner Darrett?
Aye.
Commissioner Darrett votes aye. Commissioner Oster? Commissioner Oster votes no. Commissioner Schoonmaker?
No.
Commissioner Schoonmaker votes no.
That motion fails. We are to the point of our zoning meeting needing to start, so I will call a recess of our regular commission meeting. Do we want to push through real quick? Okay. Just two of them? Pardon that. We will continue moving forward. Next item, please.
Ordinance, it's item number 46, ordinance O-23-4-101. It's to amend the Knox County Code, Chapter 10, Article 1, in general, Article 2, 2018 International Building Code, IBC, Section 10.32 amendments, Article 3, 2018 International Residential Code, IRC, Section 10-57 amendments, Article 5, 2018 International Property Maintenance Code, IPMC, Section 10-92 amendments, and Chapter 30, Article 3, 2018 Life Safety Code, LSC, Section 30.57 amendments, and to repeal and replace Chapter 30, Article 2, 2018 International Fire Code, IFC, Section 30 through 32 amendments with revisions to comply with Tennessee State Fire Marshal's Office standards. This amends Ordinance O-18-10-101 adopted November 19, 2018, and establishing Section 10.2 previously reserved. This is on first reading.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Frazier to approve with a second by Commissioner Hill. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries.
Page 10, item 47 is O-23-4-102. It's amending the Knox County Code, Chapter 54, Roads and Bridges, by adding a new Article 5 to provide for county enforcement of planning commission conditions regarding road improvements imposed on subdivision approvals. This amends the Knox County Code, Chapter 54, establishing Article 5 previously reserved. This is on first reading.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Frazier with a second by Commissioner Oster. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay. There are no ordinances on second reading, and there are no individuals signed up for public forum open topics. Is there any other business? Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Daly with second by Commissioner Beeler. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.